Welcome to a Comic Book Look, everyone. This is Comic Book Look After Hours, straight from the pages of a comic book look. And what do we do here at After Hours? We're kicking it in the lounge, we're being awesome, and we're talking to super awesome comic creators. Today, visiting me from the East Coast, and keep in mind, you guys, I'm over here in the breadbasket, South Dakota. So all the way from the East Coast, New York, I have comic creator Allan Linder. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show, man. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on, and we'll be talking about some cool stuff today. So what is new over there?
Oh, man, what is new?
What isn't new?
Somebody once said that New York would be a great place to live if they ever finished it. You know, it's never ending. There's construction everywhere. There's everything new. I live in Brooklyn, so there's the new center is going in now. We're going to have our own basketball team, and it's cool, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Right on. So, right off the bat, I just kind of like to get familiar a little bit with the creator, you know, and then we'll chop it up about the book. But I just kind of wanted to get into your head a little bit. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from the East Coast? Is that kind of home?
I'm actually originally from California.
Okay.
So I've lived in California most of my life. My dad was in the service, so I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up. I mean, I bounced around. If I could make a crisscross line across America, it would look like Connect the Dots, pretty much.
Me too. I hear you.
Yeah, you too.
Yep.
So I've been in New York now for about, I want to say 12 years.
Okay. That's awesome. What branch was he in, if you don't mind?
Marines.
Awesome. Yeah, my dad was Air Force. So
Okay.
I hear you.
Right.
Awesome. So kind of growing up then, first of all, do you read, you know, comics that, you know, we have every Wednesday kind of thing, or what is your intake of media?
I started reading comics when I was a kid, probably like 7 years old, 8 years old. I found an old comic in my uncle's his little fireplace basket where he keeps the newspapers for kindling.
Sure.
And you know, that was my first discovery of a comic. My parents were kind of like, you know, don't read that stuff, it'll pollute your mind. And of course, times changed now. I mean, Jesus, we have the internet, so it can be anything. But that was the first comic I read, and it was great. You know, from that point I was hooked. I've been collecting comics since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you have, like, kind of a, I call them the flagship titles, you know, like some of the stuff that I've been rocking with for a while?
Well, I like Detective Comics,
okay.
And I like Batman Dark Knight. You know, there's a few titles that I still stick with. I picked up the entire New 52 from DC, and I read through all of those, and
yeah.
Some of them were impressive, and some were just kind of like, okay, you know, I'll collect them for a little bit, and if the story pans out, it's good. If it peters out, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
I'm more of an indie kind of guy, though. I really like the indie stuff because it seems like it's real fresh.
Yeah. I would definitely have to agree with that. The New 52, of course, was just such a hit or miss thing, you know, for me too. Absolutely. Batman, the core book, stood out to me the most.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. I'm rolling with like Suicide Squad and Catwoman, you know, because I kind of have a thing for like stronger female characters. I think they're awesome.
Yeah, it's funny, I actually like the female characters too. The really strong ones. I mean, when I started reading Red Sonja back in the day, I connected with that character. Never been a big fan of Wonder Woman, but
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you. That's one, you know, I've been told I should check this out, but I just haven't. Tom, the co-host, is reading that. But.
Yeah, there's also, what is it, She-Hulk, and there's a lot of stories out there, but it seems endless. Like, you could spend your entire lifetime just reading comic books.
Yeah.
What would be wrong with that?
Yeah, oh, agreed. So are you more of a, would you say you're more of a, I mean, you did mention you like the indie stuff better, but between the big two, treating this as a presidential debate, are you more DC or more Marvel?
It's funny, you're not the first person to ask that question. You know, I want to say that I always liked Marvel better than DC, but DC, it's a really tough question. I mean, I did some storyboards for Marvel before, so I like the company as a whole. I like their attitude, the things that they come up with, and their movies are pretty rocking. DC, on the other hand, needs a little help in that department.
Yeah.
You got the Dark Knight, you got Batman, which is awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. They got the iconic Superman. I don't know, like the Superman thing. I just think needs help desperately.
Yeah, I never really got into Superman. I like the stories. They've done so many different directions with Superman and the character, but in the end of it all, he doesn't seem to have the type of weakness that people connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of the problem with his character the whole time, because you realize you're like, okay, it's the Man of Steel. He's invincible. All right, end of story. Yeah. Okay, yes, there's kryptonite. Okay, but the reality is he's still pretty undefeatable.
Yeah.
And he just there's a human side that's always kind of been missing. And the same thing with the films. Like people, the last one was pretty good, but people just didn't connect with it. It's that Superman curse, if you will.
No, that's definitely agreeable. Absolutely. So, how is the scene out there? I asked Cassidy Lee Phillips this too. He's another creator from out there. How is your experience with the scene? Do you talk with other creators out there?
It's funny. Unless you are part of like clubs and that kind of thing, yeah. you can be in this big city with tons of people here and still be kind of isolated.
Really?
The other thing too is if you're an artist and a comic book writer or an illustrator of some sort, the bottom line is you are working most of the time. It's really hard to make connections with people on a regular basis because you're just pouring all of your time and energy into your work.
Sure.
I got a friend of mine that lives downstairs in the basement, and well, he's not chained to a radiator or anything, but he's a professional sculptor, and the guy makes awesome sculptures for Marvel, for DC, just really, really beautiful stuff. Like he does the 3D sculptures. He also does like action figures and stuff.
Okay.
Amazing work, but I never see the guy. He's literally my neighbor, and hung out many times. But he's working, I'm working, So the scene is cool if you connect in a group, and you're like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Let's just get together and talk about books. Let's talk about this. But without that, there's just it's you in isolation and a pencil, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, when I was looking over your book here, this book had just kind of some really neat things as a whole. Like some of the artwork and stuff. It's funny that I previous to doing these shows. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
I got it.
Oh, you got it done. Brilliant.
A prototype, man.
Isn't that a great feeling?
It feels fantastic because it's real now. It's tangible. It's not just digital.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool.
Well, thank you.
When are you going to get the whole kit and caboodle of them?
Well, I have a hardcover graphic novel as well.
Okay.
This is a different cover.
Okay.
Prisoner of Mine, a completely different cover, and most of the stories in here, spoiler alert, no.
Right, pause.
I also have the soft cover. So
nice.
we've got the first issue, soft cover and hardcover of the full graphic novel. Nice. But basically I structured the whole idea was the first graphic novel is 5 chapters, which each chapter is a comic book.
Okay.
Makes it easy, So there's 5 books. When they're all released in print, then I'll release the actual hardcover and softcover graphic novel with different covers, of course. Everything. That's the beauty of it. Is if you do 5 different chapters, you get to make new covers for each one.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I'm really excited to have this first one, and to release it online is awesome, man. I've had such great response. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh. I tell you what, I did follow your instructions and read what was available online on the 1st of October. So that was really awesome. So what I am reviewing then, I'm assuming, is going to be just the first chapter, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the first chapter, and that's actually this book is what you read. This is the first printed version of that.
That's awesome. So we are going to just jump right into that then, and we're just going to kind of get into. I wrote down some abstract questions. So you
I need to sip of my beer first.
I'll drink my water here, Aaron. Boom. So we are going to be talking today, ladies and gentlemen, about Prisoner of the Mind. So, right off the bat, title. What was the inspiration behind that? Was it just, did it kind of hit you one day, or you had to kind of, I have this idea, what am I going to call it?
I think so. I always make a list of titles of when I'm working on a story, I always make a list of titles, and it's an A to Z list.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go through, and it's a process of elimination. I cross them out. This one's okay. That one's a little stronger. That one's okay. This one's better. And then that one just clicks, and that's it. That's the story.
Yeah.
So that's really what happened with this, and that happened quickly because I started this thing in 1995, man, which is a long time ago. So it clicked, and it really sums it up in the title of what's going on in this story. It really does.
Absolutely. Oh, and you know, it. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything, man.
Oh, okay. I thought that was you talking. The book itself was very dark. Is the word that came to mind for me. For me, it was, I reread it twice, just to make sure I'm capturing everything, because first time I, go through and read it, and the second time I'm really paying attention to what's going on and stuff. And the thing that fascinated me was at the beginning, when the guy pretty much, it seems like he wants to off himself. Gun, not an option, no bullets, click, F-bomb. Then he tries for the door to go to the front, and it's locked originally, until he gets the crowbar later. But it just seemed like everything was not an option, and you're a prisoner, and so that's what caught me with that title. I did, from your website, a synopsis of The Other Dead Person was that these two were agents of some sort? Okay.
Yes. You're the first story. It doesn't give you a lot of details about who he is and what's going on. You're really kind of seeing it through his eyes and what's happening to him.
Sure.
But he's also sort of trapped in his own body without being able to react the way he wants to. And that's part of the whole thing, which I don't want to give this away because the next one starts on Monday. Okay. So I'm releasing book 2 for free online, one page at a time starting Monday. Now, unfortunately, you're going to take a while to get all the pages together on that book.
Yeah.
The one I just gave away all at once, which is really nice because you can read the whole story up to that point. But now you're going to start to see book number 2 will really kind of bring the whole thing together, and you're going to say, okay, now I get what's going on. Now I understand why he's trying to off himself the way he did in the beginning.
Yeah. And, I figured it would have a little bit of explanation to that, coming up, but what a dark place, and I just kind of want to get into that, and this is art time, and, if Tom was here, he'd have like 20 million more things to say, I'm sure, about it, but one thing I really liked, I haven't seen this in any other book that I've reviewed, on, our show, by myself, on this show, was the rain streaks combo with the lights, is how I worded it. The page that stood out would have been the one with all the buildings and the billboards. I thought that the company shoutouts were entertaining with Atari.
Entertaining. I like the choice of the word entertaining.
Because it just made me chuckle because I love Atari.
I do too. Well, listen, I grew up with Atari 2600, man. That was my video game, playing all sorts of great stuff on that, over the years. That's a beautiful thing, and of course you got to do a shout out for Atari. They've been around forever. It's like having the original Apple computer,
Yeah. I did have a question about Apple, though, and I did write this down. I noticed that you had the droid icon, and I was going to ask you if you did have any beef with Apple products.
I do, yeah, absolutely. Actually, you'll probably see a little bit more of that in the book number 2.
Okay.
Because the covers are in color, and the book is black and white inside. Mm-hmm. But the covers being full color, you get some fun imagery that I've created for those. And let me just show you. Let me give you a little sneak, if you will.
Okay.
Coming on Monday. First of all, I want to show. This is my original cover design for what's coming on Monday, and that's this Monday. That's
nice. That's awesome.
That's the cover for that. But I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to book number 4. I'm gonna give you a sneak of book number 4, and you can see the Apple icon.
Oh, and I might be missing it here. Is it? Where?
Here, we're gonna zoom in. So all the way in the back there.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. That's awesome.
Anyway, so I have some fun with it. I mean, listen, we live in a corporate environment. There are logos plastered on freaking everything. I have logos in my underwear. I have logos in my T-shirts. I have logos, and you can't get away from it. Everywhere you look is somebody's, moniker of this is what we sell, and this is what we make, and this is who we are. So it's natural to see that in a book, and to see it in like everyday society.
Yeah.
So New York also, I get a chance to really see a lot of stuff here. So I wanted to include some of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that it was like so, because my reaction was that's kind of a lot of companies, and, so that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I don't discriminate. Listen, I gave them both equal billing. I like Apple,
Okay. I was just teasing. I was
sorry,
like,
boxed up.
The other thing I wanted to point out on page 1 I actually loved the integration of the title, issue number, and last name into the background image. I thought that was smart placement.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And the funny thing is, I do that with all of them. Every cover is the same way. It's the title, and typically in a comic book you see the company that makes it. If it's DC, if it's Marvel, they put their little logo in the corner, and see what issue it is. And usually the artist name is in big bold letters, the writer in big bold letters. But I'm trying to scale that back a little bit. Now, listen, I'm not putting my own name out there like this to say, hey, look at me, I'm so great. It's more about the story. It's more about the idea. So instead, I tried to say, how can I incorporate this lettering and this and the titles and the numbers and everything into the actual imagery? So for the covers, they're all like that. They're incorporated into the imagery, which is kind of fun. And it's challenging, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that detail, like that first page. I did stare at it like the second time, and I'm like, nice. So,
thank you.
Very, very cool. Onto the writing part of it. Page 3 had just such a neat line. I jotted it down here on my note card. But modern architecture collides with antiquity on every corner. How fun is that?
I have to tell you, I rewrote that page probably maybe 100 times.
Yeah.
Because that's the first words you read in the entire story. Okay? And to me, it's either going to sell it or it's going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And listen, the whole thing is, when I'm used to writing in a script format, like a film format. So there's a thing in Hollywood, and that's originally where I'm from, in California, where they say that if you're going to write a story, it has to be, you've got to be locked in 10 pages. Which means that if you start reading it, you want to get hooked into it. If it's a good story, you're just like, yes, this is great, in 10 pages. But so the first page, imagine the pressure involved with writing that first page. How important is that?
Mm-hmm.
And either you're going to do a really great job of it, or it's not. So listen, man. I rewrote that thing 100 times. I'm not joking, and I edited and edited and edited the whole idea, and I'm still a little. I'm kind of like a technical writer almost. I feel that way sometimes when I write.
Was it like specific words where you like kind of like I just want it to convey this message, and it's not working for me? Are you a typer or a writer?
I'm both.
Okay.
It's funny because the majority of my story I write on the subway.
Oh, okay.
I travel to and from the city every day,
Yeah.
and I'm about a half an hour from Manhattan. So that gives me opportunity to write and draw, and I keep a sketchbook and a writing pad with me, and I write a lot of my stuff all handwritten, and then I go back and I sift through my scratches and type it all in. But when it comes to actual words, you can take a word and go, flip it 1,000 different ways and break out the thesaurus, man, and just go back and forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I just got such a charge of that whole intro, though. I really thought that was well done. So your work paid off.
You liked it?
Yes.
That's awesome. That means I did my job okay.
So I guess the other thing I got such a kick out of was the reality check between the two city workers. Like what the younger one's just complaining and moaning, and the other guys like, you got no balls, you got to work. I like the blunt dialogue, I guess, for lack of better terms, because he is just so cut and dry, and that's just the way that it is. It seems, and for such a dark world, it's just kind of interesting to see people that are not really hopeful, but they're there just to do the job, and day by day, this is how it goes. So.
You ever been to Dark City?
No.
Listen, man, I got a spare room here. You can come out and visit anytime.
Okay.
Seriously, but New York is a really interesting place, and I say that I've lived in a lot of cities and a lot of places, but New York specifically is so amazing because you have these culture clashes. You literally have people that grew up in this country learning these things and knowing this knowledge, and then they come here and they're out of place.
Yeah.
And they try to fit in with their ideas and their concepts and their history.
Yeah.
And you have that from all over the world. It's the strangest freaking thing you can imagine.
Yeah.
With the dialogue, I really wanted to keep it real, like blunt. This is how it is, because here, people say what the hell they have on their mind. They're not afraid to say, that's the way it is. And sometimes in their broken dialect, this way, it is what it is. And you just accept it, and you're like, man, that's just the city. So imagine that now in the future times like 10. So you have even more people with different backgrounds and different connections and different opinions, and maybe they came from a broken home or from some sort of a bad upbringing, and they're just trying to make it, and this is the place to make it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm very curious to see how the rest of it goes, flowing with this. But all in all, with this one, it was for it being set in a depressing environment. I thought it had a lot of neat things going for it. The creative process. So I really think that what you did was you tackled something that's a little more maybe of a heavy topic for some people, but you executed it really well, and that's what I appreciate as a reader. So we'll talk about beer ratings at the end of the show, of course.
Okay.
But no, I am really excited to check out more of your project coming up, and we'll talk about the links and how folks can find you here at the end of the show. Will you keep the first one up then?
The first one's going to be up. It's up permanently.
Okay.
There's actually a really cool link that I put on. If you go to the website and check that out, there's a link that I'm I'm actually offering it through a website called Issue.
Okay.
And the link is there, and it's a live link. You click on it, and it opens on your screen just like a book.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful thing because that's really the way you want to read it. You want to read it as if it's a book, and this is the closest thing you can get to doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to log in. You don't have to sign up for it. It's just one click, and boom, it's on your screen, and it looks like a comic book.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the one that I did.
Did you do that? Yeah, good,
yeah.
Good.
So that works out slick. And, I'm curious to see, have you gotten any feedback from people? Tech talk. But have you gotten any things like tablets, smartphones? Anyone told you anything? Have you tried anything out?
My website is optimized for the iPad and the iPhone, so pretty much that sets the standard, I think, for mobile devices, and all the rest follows from there. But apparently it looks good on there.
Cool.
If you get directly from my blog, it's still kind of small because I use Blogger.
Yeah.
So it's a little small. The best way to read it is click on the issue thing if you're going to read it online, and it just opens it up. If you're going to read it on your mobile device, then it's fine on my blog. You can just skim through it, and it's big, full screen. It looks really nice and crisp.
Absolutely. No, I enjoyed it. I blew it up on my big screen, and I was like, yeah.
Cool.
So
cool.
That was really cool. You mentioned, you got the rest of this project coming up, which is no small task for you. Are there other projects that you have done already that are out there, collaborations, or anything that we need to be on the lookout for?
I have, actually. I've done quite a few projects in the past. I mean, this is my first real solo graphic novel.
Okay.
I've done a lot of collaborations in the past. One that I did just recently is a children's book, believe it or not, which is completely opposite of the dark world that I created.
Sure.
Can you see that?
Yes. And what is the title? I'm just jotting it down here.
The Adventures of Super Sass and Captain Claw Muffin.
Okay.
And I did all the illustrations for this children's book. Here's one of those that you can see.
That's awesome.
So this is an interesting story too. Listen, my background's pretty diverse, and style of drawing, I can pretty much do just about anything. And just because I'm doing my book, which is very dark and sinister and all of that, I do a lot of other stuff too.
Okay.
And storyboards for film and TV, and I can match styles and have some fun with it.
That's awesome. So, do you juggle projects then sometimes, or are you kind of one of those where you're like, boom, let's focus? I
do. The image behind me is actually one of my paintings.
Okay.
By trade, my day job, if you will, is I'm a professional artist, a painter.
That's awesome.
I do a lot of gallery shows, and I do juggle projects. For example, with paintings, I'm usually doing 2 or 3 paintings at once, so I can work on one here while this one's drying. I'm working on another one over here, and with the graphic novel, now that I'm this far ahead on it, and I've been working on it for so long, so it's almost finished. As far as what's going to be released to the public, I'm already turning my attention to a new story and new concepts. So I have in the works 3 new comic books that will be out in the next year to year and a half.
That's so awesome.
So and those are going to be fun and different, and listen, you can't be a one-trick pony, and you can't do the same thing over and over again. I'm not a dark person typically, but this is a really dark story which I wanted to get out there. The next one is dark.
That's awesome. Well, I am definitely excited to, monitor that second one coming out. Are you going to be doing all of them online, or are we kind of putting the brakes on those 2?
This is it. I mean,
nice.
once 2 is released online, I'll release the whole thing over. I mean, 2 starts on Monday, and I'm giving you 3 pages on Monday.
Okay.
And then it's 1 page every Monday until that book is done, which is it's basically buying me enough time to get the print issue out.
Yeah.
With the first one.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's going to be around the first of the year. The way I'm looking at it, I thought about getting it done for Christmas, but I don't want to get on that kind of pressure. Plus, you know, the whole end of the world thing in the end of December here. It's Mayan calendar, all that, you know.
Careful, that's my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That is so freaking awesome. I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you, you're going to get the whole hardcover graphic novel. You're going to get this.
Really? Are you sure? That's awesome.
But you can't release this because this is all 5 books.
Okay.
This is for your eyes only.
Okay.
Because that would be a major spoiler alert.
We'll call that a comic book look vault.
Right. And you could say, okay, look, here's the first one that's online already, but you can't see the rest of it.
That's awesome. Well, no, man, thanks, dude. I totally appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's kind of talk shop here then, because you're going to be, you know, we're going to be, you know, pushing some books here coming up. So where are you selling them through? Is there going to be an iStore kind of a thing, or what do you got planned?
I tell you, I really went, I mean, the publisher for this is Eclectic Press. Okay, Eclectic Press is a small publishing house here in New York. And the first issue I wanted to do was a limited run. Okay. Now, originally I thought about getting it out before Comic-Con. I mean, you know, Comic-Con's here next week.
That's right.
Yes. So I wanted to get it out before that, but that's not going to happen. Next year, I'll be at Comic-Con with this book, printed. So the first run, I think I want to do a print run of either 1,000 to 2,000, depending on what I've got through the publisher. I also thought about going the Kickstarter route because it's so amazing right now. Mm-hmm. Kickstarter really just rocks with independent projects, and I dig that. But I said, no, I'm not going to do it with this one. So basically, when I release this, it'll be available online at like Amazon and Barnes & Noble online. And I'm going to do some limited distribution through some comic books across America, not just in New York, across America. So once the first print run is done, it's going to be pretty limited, maybe 1,000.
Yeah. People are gonna eat it up. I thought it was really cool. Like, I'm more of a dark person myself, you know, too. But I just the company shoutouts they were making me smile, and the detail behind it. I thought it was fun. And you know, the one thing I did like as well, I criticize old books about this, talking about your feelings through word bubble after word bubble, filling up the page with text. You are the complete opposite. Let the pictures do the talking. Have the words steer you on where the writer wants you to go.
Oh, thank you. I've read so many comic books growing up that, you know, the old stuff too. Listen, I have a really great Silver Age and Bronze Age collection, and I love the old stuff, but man, is it lengthy and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So I thought, my original intention with this whole book, and I'm just going to spill this out anyway, I wanted to do no words. I wanted to do pictures only. But it's just not possible.
Yeah.
I managed to get the first one. I really managed to get the first book at one point completely done without any words. And then I went back and my wife read it, and she's just like, there's no words. What kind of a book has no words?
There's some of those out there. Yeah.
But thank you. I actually tried to keep it as minimal and to the point as possible. And there's some great writers out there, like guys like Alan Moore and those guys. And the whole idea is the fewer words, the better, and each word needs to count. So I tried to make that happen.
Absolutely. So what we'll do then is I'll get some information, from you then regarding that, so we can help you out. People love checking out. People love checking out books. Period. I don't care who you are. So, I will definitely do my best to help you out with that. We'll get some information once you get it available. Are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter.
Mm.
Yes. You just look up Allan Linder on Twitter and you'll find me. I'm on Facebook. I get all the social media links. All you got to do is Google my name and I'm there.
Okay. All right. Well, we will definitely get you connected that way then. Is there an email address anyone can write you at?
Yes. It is art at allanlinder.com, and that's Allan, ALLANLINDER.com.
You got it. Absolutely. We'll put that up there just in case anyone wants to drop you a line.
Cool.
Absolutely. Well, I promised you a beer rating. I did enjoy the book. I really did, and I'm so thankful that you had a chance to visit with me. And this is such a fitting book for October because it's corporate, it's reality, but it's fun. And
it's calm.
Exactly. It's great, So I am going to give you the whole kit and caboodle here and pass you that 6-pack. As I'm having water, so you can have the 6-pack. But
okay. Well, what do you mean? I'm drinking my vitamin C right now.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, I will go ahead then and get that information up for you then. Do you have anything else that you wanted to convey to the viewers?
I do. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you out some stickers so that you can give these out to your people that watch the show.
Yeah.
All right, some of your viewers.
Very well.
And when the first copy comes out, I'll make sure that you get a signed copy of this. You can give that out to your viewers as well, besides the graphic novel that I'll send you for your birthday.
Brilliant. That's awesome. The end of the world. Yes. So terrible. So terrible. Oh, man.
Maybe a little conference call will count down the seconds or something. Crazy, right?
Right on. Well, I'll wrap up the show here and then we'll talk a little shop off the camera. So, alright, well, thank you again for stopping by. You guys know the drill. John on Demand, outside a comic book look. We're keeping it comics from South Dakota all the way to New York. Proof's in the pudding, that's what I say. Thank you for stopping by, Allan. Thank you for taking the time to visit with us.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Check you guys later.
Later.